Bismillah, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, and we ask for His peace and blessings on Prophet Muhammad, his family, companions, and us with them. As much as Ramadan is a month of fasting and sacrifice and devotion and prayer, it's an opportunity as well for all of us to assess where we stand in terms of this very important concept of generosity. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is described as generally being the most generous of people inside Ramadan and outside Ramadan. And when Ramadan came, he's described as being more generous than a free-blowing wind. And the use of that metaphor is because the free-blowing wind brings everything in its path with it. So the Prophet ﷺ is known to have been exceptionally generous in Ramadan. Naturally, Ramadan is a time when many Muslim organizations are fundraising and are seeking support for the service that they offer to the community. Ta'leef is one of those organizations that has been asking for support in Ramadan. So when we think of generosity, we tend to naturally think first about money. And money is one of the ways that we can be generous. And we should be generous and we should give. I think we should, in order to really appreciate what generosity has to offer us in terms of our potential to fulfill our true human purpose, is to think about other ways we can be generous as well. A kareem, or a generous person, is described or defined in the Arabic language as الَّذِي يُعْطِي أَكْثَرْ مِمَّا يَعِدْ, someone who gives more than they promise. So if you have promised to give an organization or a family member or some type of monetary support, you have promised to give a certain amount, the way that you display generosity is by giving more than you have promised. Also, we can think about generosity in terms of our time. And God knows that our families, particularly those of us with young children, are waiting for us to manifest some of that generosity. And whether you are a parent, a child, or a sibling, a spouse, time is one of the things that we can be more generous with. And when we think of it in terms of giving more than we promised, that has to do both in terms of quantity and in terms of quality. If we say that we're going to be home at 7 for iftar, then be home at 6:45, be home at 6:30, be home at 6:15. Hey, why not help a little bit around the house and help prepare the iftar instead of just showing up like it was Burger King and you could just have things your way. Be generous in terms of the time that you offer. And in terms of quality, we need to try to be more present with our loved ones when we are with our loved ones. And so Ramadan is a time to think about this idea of generosity with the time that we spend, the quantity of time that we spend, the quality of time that we spend. Also, and finally, those of us who've embraced Islam and since embracing Islam have had the honor of being invited into people's homes. I remember, as I've shared in the series, some of the first times I was invited into our community members' homes. And many of us have been beneficiaries of generosity for a number of years, and for whatever reason have yet to reach into our hearts and open the doors of our home to invite the very people who've invited us time and time again into our homes. And let's not make the excuse of saying, well, we don't have wealth like those people have, we don't have a home as big as those people have, or we're not able to cook as good as the people who've invited us are able to cook. Generosity means that you give whatever you have, and you give whatever you can, and you give more than you can. So if you are that student that has been invited into community members' homes numbers of times, and they've been generous to you, or you are that convert to Islam, newcomer to Islam who's been invited into people's homes, challenge yourself and go out of your comfort zone a little bit and invite people. If you don't have a home to invite them to, then invite them out somewhere else. Do whatever you can to manifest some of the spirit of generosity in Ramadan. And remember that it's not just about money. It's about time, it's about our spirit, it's about our energy, it's about our devotion. And when we show up to Muslim events or events of our brothers and sisters from other faith communities or people who have no faith at all, we should also measure our generosity in terms of our willingness to serve, our willingness to be agents of positive change, agents of growth, not just people who are constantly benefiting from others. Generosity, may Allah make it easy for us to be generous, and may He allow us to taste from the fruits of this generous month that is Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa Ramadan Mubarak.